Hello and welcome back. This is Sherry with Heart and Soulful. We are in the studio today working on jewelry. So if you've been watching my videos for a while, you know that I mention from time to time that I do lots of different things, and I have been really good lately about finding a balance and working on all the different things that I do. So if you are just joining me for the very first time, welcome. I hope you're not disappointed. This isn't a junk journaling video, but I've only been doing junk journaling for about a year. I wouldn't even say a whole year. I started this channel in August last year just to show my first junk journaling project, and it was easier to do that in a video format. So I'm also like from time to time to show my jewelry. I don't do it very often, but I'm working on a batch of sterling silver hearts, and that's kind of probably one of my most popular items. So I thought, since I have them started and in a good place that I can show them, I will do a little quick video here to show you where I'm at. And that way, if you see anything that you like and want it finished your way or designed together, then we can work on that. So these are two very, very old pieces when I first started making jewelry again. And I'm just sharing those just to kind of give you an idea of some of the different things. Like I said, these are old. My style and different things have probably evolved over the 18 years. But this is still one of the necklaces that I wear almost every day. I haven't polished it up or anything. At the end of the video, I'll kind of show you a little bit how you can take care of your jewelry if you have purchased something from me. But I want to show you what I'm working on now. So one of the things that I like to do is make all my necklaces as much as possible double-sided. So I came up with this idea actually years ago. This is my very, very first piece of using a vintage watch. And I had purchased a bezel that was double-sided. And I really liked that idea. This one had a piece of metal in between the two sides like this. It had so there's a back, but then on the other side, the bezel was also raised so you could put something in the other side too. And I don't see those very often. This one is just made from base metal, so it's been worn so much that the plating is already coming off. I may try to revive this myself just because it's sentimental. So that is what made me come up with the idea. But I wanted them not out of base metal, and I didn't have the tools and things to do my own casting, which is how these are made, I believe. So I wanted just to do it, making it with just plain flat bezel. So I started working in bronze, and now I've added copper and sterling silver. These are both in bronze, and this one is a little more polished than this one. So you can see the age over time just by, you know, not polishing them. But for the vintage thing, I kind of like that. So I'm going to set these aside and kind of show you what I have going now. If you are a jewelry maker and you want to make these, I'll show you what I use. I made, I don't know, probably 36 or so of these. If you follow my Facebook page, you know, I do updates from time to time like this, or on Instagram. I'll put links down below in the description so you can follow me there if you want to see what I'm working on, you know, from day to day. I have a bunch of, excuse me, bezels made up. So each one I hand form. I do use, you know, some kind of a mandrel or something to get the rounded part, but, you know, just regular jewelry tools. So I'm using, for these, I'm using 1/8 inch wide sterling silver strip. So it's just bezel strip. Okay. So that's what I'm using. And then for the bail that I'm making, I'm out to show you, but this was 18 gauge. If I get in there and focus, 18 gauge sterling silver wire. So these are solid sterling silver. The wire, if you don't make jewelry and you want to know the good place to get your wire if you're just starting out, is I buy all of my metals from Rio Grande. They're an American company. This one is 16 gauge. So the 18 gauge that I used is a little smaller than this. This is 20 gauge. So it's a little bigger than this. So that's what I use from Rio Grande. Same with the bezel. So I've got all these made up and empty, ready to go when I'm ready to fill them with something. So if you see one that I have started, but then you find out it's already promised to someone, just reference the number to me and tell me what you want, and we can get that made. So that's how I start, just by forming the hearts, soldering them, and then soldering them with the bail on. Now I work with ice resin, which is a jeweler's grade resin. I'm not going to, go into a demo here with that, but I do have previous videos. I have a playlist that is Jewelry Mary's Papercraft, and in that I do have multiple tutorials that actually show you how to mix and how I use the resin. So what I use is Susan Leonard Kasmer's ice resin that is sold by Ranger. I'll put a link to this. I wanted to go ahead and show you my bottles because I order large bottles and they come in smaller ones. If you're not going to do a lot of this, you want to just order the smaller ones. They even do a syringe that's like a single-use type thing. You might want that, at least to try it out. On my bottles, they say to try to use this within 6 months. And so I put the date that I received it so that I kind of know when I need to order more. And I do need to order more. I store this in a dark closet. And even then you can see just from exposure how yellowed this is getting. If you're going to do something where you don't need it to be crystal clear, that's going to be okay. That color, you can even tint this with different products. So I'll keep this and use it. But for some of the clear see-through pendants that I want, I need to order another bottle of this because you see I'm past the 6 months and it is starting to yellow. So you can still use it. You can color it and use it that way. Or like I said, in something that you aren't going to see through. So these are the ones that I've started. In addition to the hearts, one of the things that I make the most with resin are the little watch face pendants. I've done larger ones, and right now, because of the size of the watch faces that I have, I'm doing some tiny ones. So when I do these, I'll kind of show you, in case you're a jewelry maker from the beginning. It's really kind of been a learning process for me because I kind of just, made up. I haven't seen anybody do these open bezels like this. They probably do, but I kind of figured this out by practicing on my own. So one of the things that I came up with is you do this on packing tape. And I had purchased a book that was actually written by Susan Leonard Kasmer, how to use the ice resin. I don't believe she had other things that she did that were kind of open, but not in this way, I don't recall. It's been a long time, so I could be wrong. But you put it, your bezel on packing tape, and then you make sure it's, sealed as best as you can. I've learned that if you try to fill your bezel completely and then do a complete pour, that it's going to just pour out. It's really hard to get, even with heavy packing tape, to really get a good seal on that. So what I've been prone to do now is I use a paintbrush and my little mixing cup, which is, let's see if I have one. If you've watched one of the other videos where I show how I do the resin, I only mix up maybe a teaspoon. With it's equal parts, so a half a teaspoon of A and half a teaspoon of B, and mix that. That's kind of workable for me for a half an hour, and that's the only working time that you have. So I just mix up a little bit, and then I take the bezel on the tape, and then I just paint kind of a seal on the inside. And I go over the whole bottom, but real thin layer, because I may not know for sure what I'm going to put in here later. I kind of just get a bunch to this point. When that happens, they will spill out. You can kind of, I don't know if you can see that or not, but it has leaked out around the edge a little bit. This one isn't too bad. I don't know if I've cleaned all the other ones already, but I can't really pull this away because I still have just a thin layer, and it's so thin that if I start to try to pull this away, I'm going to pull away even that thin layer of resin. But you can see it's kind of around my bezel now. That all has to get cleaned off. So the least amount of that mess that you have, the better. So this is kind of the first step, is just that really thin layer. And then 24 hours later, I can now fill these if I want. So these are two that I haven't filled, mostly because when I work on these, this is on a cookie sheet, and I've only put this piece of suede here because of the glare for the video. But normally these, I want to fit what I can fit on a cookie sheet. And I've just learned over time, that's about what I can work on in half an hour while my resin is workable. So I just kind of start working on them. And when I run out, if I have enough going, I can mix up another teaspoon or not. But that's just kind of because I work in such small layers. That's about what I do. And then it's only a half hour, an hour out of my day, and then I go and I work on something different. Okay, so I've done little watches. These are to the point now where I can take these off because they were done a little bit differently. I put the watch face in, and then I start working on the top until I get layers and layers until I get a nice dome. So this one isn't domed enough for me yet, but I'll keep working the front. And then once the front is finished, like I have this one, number 24, this one, if you can see, once it focuses here, I have a nice doming on the top. So now I can flip that over, and now I can fill the back with, you know, a collage of something, a photo, whatever I want. It could be stones. I'm going to show you some different things that I've done, but now it's really just a blank slate for the back side with my watch face on the front side. So if you catch me before or make a request ahead, I can always get watch hands and set them to a time that you like. So I set them to 8:28 because that's a special number and time for me. So I set watch hands to that time unless you've told me otherwise. But it's kind of nice to set them to a birth date, you know, even though it's a time. Like say it's May, what's today? May the 14th or something like that. I can set it to 5:14. So you catch me ahead and I can set hands to the time that you want. Not all of them have hands, and I get that request from people as I don't want hands on my watch. So, you know, some of them don't have hands. These are in, I think this one's in bronze too. Might be copper. I'd have to check. These are already started to tarnish because I started them a long time ago. I think that one's in copper. So I have different watch faces. These are kind of more masculine. I think they are just because of the size, but they can be unisex. So this was basically without the watch face, just the inside. Sometimes you can buy on Etsy or different places, eBay, just watch parts that you can use. So I had bought a bunch of watch cases that still had some of the gears in there, and then just did. So I just think they kind of look industrial. So this is still flat on the other side. If I wanted to put a picture or, you know, something flat here, I have a little bit of room to do that. But these I've made and sold before. So I'm just doming both sides and keeping them kind of industrial looking. So those are all the watch face ones that I have started. So the hearts is really what I wanted to focus on. I have never made any this small before, so this is a new thing for me. Smaller is not always easier. A lot of times smaller is harder. On this one, I have put my crushed stones. That's kind of probably the most popular thing that I sell. Hard to say, but I know I sell a lot of those. Just with crushed stones. So it's all semi-precious stones. They kind of started out as when I would have a semi-precious stone bead that was maybe cracked or didn't have a hole in even, you know, it was lopsided or something. I didn't want to throw it away because it was still a semi-precious stone. So I got to where I would hammer those and crush them up and then just mix them up. So I call those my confetti hearts because it was just a mixture of different stones that made this kind of confetti looking color. And those have been really popular, and I'll show you kind of why some of those are. This one, if you're a jewelry maker and you're going to try this, I just want to show you, give you some little tips. If you end up with something, a bubble or something that you didn't like, or like this had a little piece of stone that I didn't like, you can dig it out with an X-Acto knife. And this is self-healing, so when you go back and do another pour, it's going to fill that in crystal clear and you won't even know it was there. So you can fix boo-boos as you go. This one was almost domed enough, but like I said, there was a little piece I didn't like, so I actually just cut it out of there. And then once this one probably needs maybe 2 more pours, and once it's finished, then I'll be able to flip it over, and that'll be the back side. So I'm having a hard time focusing here on my camera, but it's just the confetti of stone on both sides. And I did put, there was one little chip of, I think it's garnet, so I just kind of left it in the center. But that is one little tiny one. And these little tiny ones, unless someone says they want it finished a different way, I'll probably just be putting it onto an adjustable sterling silver chain. This one is with carnelian, another tiny one. And I've done it 2 pours now, so I can actually take it off of here. I've already gone and pulled these off and cleaned all that excess resin. So now if I'm very, very careful, I can just keep filling that until I get the dome I want, and then flip it over and get the dome on the back side. Usually that can be done in maybe 2 pours, the back side if you're lucky. So this needs a few more. When I did this one, I put carnelian just on the top. And actually this, I don't think it's carnelian. This one's fire agate, which some people say is the same thing. I will put turquoise or apatite or something, that kind of teal color, I'm thinking, on the bottom part of this. That was my plan. So unless you see this and you want the whole thing orange or something different, let me know. But my plan is, and it's probably going to happen tomorrow, maybe not, that's going to end up turquoise on the bottom. So that's number 9. And then number 10, I wanted to show this one because this is what it looks like when I can take it off of the tape, and kind of why I take it off of the tape. You can see when I have gone to fill it with my crushed stone, I get stone and it's kind of a mess on my tape. That bothers me because I'm a little perfectionist. So I will be taking this off, putting it on a clean piece of tape. That will be number 10. But then you can see all of this resin has to come off. So I will use like little plier or little tools. I'm going to try to do this with my fingernails, but it's not that easy. So that's kind of coming off okay, but right when you get around the bezel, and you can see this is still a little bit pliable. That's because I just did this and it's only 24 hours. If I let this go like 3 days, that's going to be enough time for this to cure really hard, and then it's just going to be harder to get off. I'm going to grab so these are just little pliers, and I can just kind of carefully try not to get on the metal, pull that away because it's still pliable. But I've got to get all that off, and if it doesn't come off easy, then I have to use an X-Acto knife. I'm not going to do this here because it's delicate, but I have to get in there and try to get that off without scratching the silver, because if I scratch the silver, then I have to sand all that out, and which I do. They all end up having to be sanded at some point and buffed out. But the less mark I make on my bezel, the less work I have to do later. So this one has probably, let's see, 1, 2, 3 pours already to just fill it. And this is filled with turquoise. And it's a turquoise that has a lot of green and the kind of brown colors in that, and kind of a natural thing. There you go, it's better. So this one's going to take several more pours to dome and then flip over also. This will be the back side of it. So once it's all finished, the front and back will be interchangeable. You could wear it either way. So these are, you know, pretty simple still, just kind of plain, I guess I'd say. So this is one of the confetti ones that's popular. So I've made several of these because I usually end up having more than one person wanting it. So these I kind of started doing with that confetti of stone. I think that's better, maybe. This only has 2 pours on it so far, so there will be more. It'll be domed. And when I filled it, my original idea was to fill it so that it looked like the stones were all pouring out. And then when I make a bezel that has this point at the end, I can drill a hole through that, and then I can do a dangle. And so what I do is I take actual beads from this mixture and then dangle those, so it's kind of like they were pouring out the heart. So, and that's from the back side. Really kind of hard to tell in this, but there's kind of, in this one, there's, I don't know if you can see, there's kind of effervescent bubbles, I call them, because they're really fine. And this one needs to be clean too. What I end up having to do is take, once you've handled these, after you do a pour, and you have to wait 24 hours before you can touch them at all. Once you've touched them, like I am now, before I do another pour, I need to clean any fingerprints or any body oils, any of that off of there, so that it's clear again. So this one wasn't looking very clear to me. So you clean that off before you do your next resin pour. So you can see it's kind of like, I just think of it as like stones in water kind of look. But it's just kind of something different. And then it would have little dangles on that one. And then some of those I do where they don't have dangles. So that's 11, 12. This one is with Amethyst. And again, I had a piece of stone in there that ended up floating off of where I wanted it to be. I don't know if you can see, there's a hole now there's a hole right here. So I'll be able to fill that in. I have to be careful because, you know, I don't want it leaking out everywhere. But I didn't like that one little stone, so I used my X-Acto knife and cut it out before the next pour. So that's with Amethyst. And it also has the little tail here. It doesn't have to have a dangle. It could be left like that, but it kind of calls for one. I mean, that's why I made it that way. So this one would have a dangle, and then you can have chain and beads and whatnot, a tassel. So that's that one, 12. And I could, if I wanted to, right now I've just put the amethyst on one side. I could put another stone, maybe a contrasting color. Maybe you want garnet with it, or something totally different, or nothing at all, or watch gears. If I had a tiny enough watch face, which I don't, you know, something like that could go in that space, or nothing. So those are just kind of some little ideas. This is another one with the confetti. And what I'll do is, if you're following my Facebook page, I will put a photo. I'll try to do a good photo of these so that you can kind of just see a still photo of all of them together if you're wanting to choose one. So this is another one. I do have somebody that gets first dibs on these. She's wanted me to make her a confetti one. I'm thinking she's probably going to want one of these, but I won't know that until she tells me. So you can tell me what you like. This is the other one I think might be spoken for. So this one is Appetite. It's that kind of teal color. And I just did it one solid full one because I think that's what she wanted me to do. So I'll find out. And then this one is that same confetti mixture, but I did the whole thing just to be different. And so this one doesn't have that little tail on the bottom that can have a hole drilled through. It's just a regular heart. I know I have such a glare. This is not good. It's either that or me working in the dark. And then this is another one that's just all filled in. I'll try to photograph these better, like I said, and put them on my Facebook page to see. And this one is turquoise. Turquoise ones are pretty popular. I should probably do more of these, and I will. And I have lots of different colors of turquoise too. So this might be, I'm thinking that the person that asked me for one will do one of these, but I'm not sure. I'll try to message those 2 people this week, and then at least I'll know what's already taken. And this one, again, does not have the little tail for anything to hang down, but it's, again, one that I didn't fill completely. I really like that one, too. It's a nice size. Same with this one, number 20. And this one, I accidentally got a scratch trying to clean the resin off. It's on the back side. And I'm going to show it because that's going to disappear in my next, when I'm pouring the back. And then another one. Like I said, I'm doing a lot of these because these are kind of a popular one. And then another one that I like to do, and I'll probably do, usually I did them in about this size, is I was taking, this one is actually the little watch face, little tiny one. And it's already domed. And then the back side, I just did 1 pour or 2 pours maybe. And it's not quite domed enough yet, but it's close. I think 1 more pour. And it is on the back side of the watch face is amber mica. And then I made a little heart, if you can see that, out of turquoise. This one's kind of tiny, so it's really hard there. Maybe you can see that better. But I've done these in a larger version and in the heart shape. So I think, in fact, my opening photo on my website is one of the heart ones. I think it's in bronze with the, you can see through it. So you see through the mica. You can see light through it, I guess is what I mean. And then the turquoise heart. So that's what I have here. That I have working on. Like I said, if you saw anything in that batch that strikes your fancy, shoot me a message with the number. If it is one that my 2 people that I've promised to want, then we'll work something out, because I have all of these bezels, and I can put these onto tape or number them, or you can take a screenshot and circle when you see what other shapes that I have and sizes, and then we can finish it your way. Just some other little quick ideas of ones that I already have. I'm tangled here. Finished and on my website. Okay, I'm not going to untangle. This is a sterling silver one that has the little, you may have seen me use these before. I hand cut a little metal heart out of a vintage picture frame and float that in there. That's just another little something that can be added. This one is in copper, and it's with the Appetite again. I still have that one available. I make them with no bail. And I wanted to show these. All the ones that I've made so far have a bail already soldered on. But if you want one like this, these are really easy to make because I don't have to put the bail. And then what I do is I drill 2 holes at the top of the heart. And then I've started this one forever ago that I need to finish. But this is how then, and this is one of the confetti ones with just stones at the bottom. And then I just use that hole that I've drilled and start a beaded chain with that, or it can be have leather in there or something like that. So there's just some different options. Also, as far as carrying and maintaining your resin necklaces, you can, and I have had people do this in the past, is if you wear it all the time, like this one, this is like my everyday necklace, and it's pretty grungy, just because I haven't cleaned it, and that's why I wanted to show it. This one's in bronze, and it ends up looking like an aged penny. If you like that look, you can leave it that way, but if you need it refurbished, you can send it to me and I can refurbish it for you. So what that means is sometimes the resin, just over time, just your body oils, if you wear makeup, that can get built up onto the resin. The thing you can do yourself to fix that is use these alcohol, either just alcohol prep pads work great, or just some alcohol on a tissue, just nothing rough. Then you would go and you just would clean. This one's dry right now, but you would just clean all of that oil off, and you'd be surprised how much that will just clarify everything. If you still have a issue with that, maybe you've dropped it or something scratched it, or anything like that mars your resin, you can send that back to me and I just put a coat of resin on it again, and it's just like brand new. So if something's happened to it, just feel free, you send me a message, you send it back to me, and I'll send it back to you. So this one does need a little bit of polishing. Two of the things that I use, one is I send these with every jewelry order that has any kind of metal that can be polished. So it already has polish in it. It's a polishing cloth, and you can use this until it turns black from the tarnish, but you won't be able to wash it and then reuse it. It has polish in it, so it wouldn't do the same thing. So I send these with every order, so you'll have that. This is what it looks like after it's being used. This one still has a lot of life left in it, but you would take this and just polish. And I even take it and maybe lay it on some hard surface, and then this is just easy. You can see me getting this black line there where I'm polishing it. This would take quite a bit for this one because it is so far gone, but you can already see that little spot that I'm polishing. So a faster way for me to do it is another thing that I have. If you're a jewelry maker, you may have these. Rio Grande sells these cleaning pro polish cloths. It is a little polishing cloth that has a bit of grit to it, so it'll take out some really fine scratches. So if I were to have any scratches, but it also is going to just polish that tarnish off a bit faster. So you would do this, same thing. I can sit here and just go back and forth. You see how fast that comes off, a lot faster if you have this type of cloth. So you would do that and then follow that up with the polishing cloth, and then it's just like brand new. So I have a lot more work I need to do on this one now that I've started, but that's what you would do to do it on your own with just the blue cloth that I send you. Then the other thing is, you can see the same thing as all these links were bronze too, and they're pretty dingy. If you're really careful and patient, you could go through and even polish up all those links if you want it to be shiny again. So the other thing that I can do, because this one is there's no leather on it, it's all stones, is I can put this in my tumbler. You can see from just wearing makeup, you get this buildup of makeup in there. So you can take an old toothbrush and just some mild, like Dawn dishwashing liquid, some mild soap, and just with water and your brush kind of clean all that off, and that would be something you could do at home. I always like to make sure from wearing or throwing this in a bag instead of storing it properly when I travel. Sometimes these might get bent, so I always kind of go through and make sure all my links, because they are wire, make sure they're all straight, nothing is kind of bent on those. So you can do that. if you do, just from wear and tear, I wire wrap all my links. So it's not like a jump ring that just has the loop, where if you have a small child or something, or get it hung up on something and you pull, those will come apart. Mine are all wire wrapped, so they don't come apart that way. But sometimes maybe I was a little aggressive with the tool, or you've had to bend it back and forth to keep it straight or something for yourself. If that wire becomes brittle and breaks, then you might have a link break. And that happens from time to time. You know, I get an occasional, I vacuumed my earrings or something like that, and they break. So always feel free to send it to me. Just let me know. Save all the parts that you can. Send it to me. I'll fix it and send it back. I don't usually charge for that because, shipping's usually $4 or something like that, $5. I don't worry about that. If it's a little bit more, something major happened to it, and, I have to replace a lot of beads or something like that, then, maybe I charge you a little bit, but I don't normally. So I'm just happy to do it. I like it to always look nice and for you to be happy. So always feel free. People will worry, are you going to be able to fix it? And I always say, I made it, I can fix it, right? So, it may be a little more extensive depending on what happened to it, but I pretty much think anything can be fixed. So if you are a jewelry maker and you have something like this, I even have like one of those little vibrating jewelry cleaners that just homeowners have. That will work too. I have a tumbler, and because these are all, like I said, there's no leather or anything on here, I can actually submerge this. So I can put this in my tumbler. I have done a test to see, to make sure it won't mess up my resin. So far, it never has. So far, I've been able to put stuff in the tumbler and haven't had a problem. I'm going to keep doing that with my own things, so that if I do find that that's not a good idea, I'll let you know. But so far, I've been able to do that, and it's okay. You can't do that if you have leather on it, because the leather will, like this one I couldn't do because it can't come off and it has leather on it. So this one I would have to do by hand. And I do use a lot of leather in my designs. So sometimes if you have something that has leather on it too, and it's really far gone and you really need it to be refreshed, you can still send it to me, because in a lot of cases I may still have the same leather or a similar leather. I could take the leather off and do what I need to do to cleaning wise or whatever, and then put new leather on, because leather wears over time also. So I'm just mentioning that because I don't ever want you to have something that you spent money on, and then it didn't maybe last as long as you had hoped it would. I know I end up wearing these every day, and so they take a lot of wear and tear. I have people that I tell, don't wear your leather bracelets in the shower or swimming, but they will anyway because they don't ever want to take it off. So that's fine too. I have remade leather bracelets as well. So don't ever be afraid to message me if something's happened, or if you've just worn the heck out of something and want it remade. Then I can do that too, and that's usually just a minimal charge. So there you go. That's where I'm at on working on jewelry. I'm also painting some old books for altered books. I had a request from someone who does junk journaling, and she wants to make a journal out of an altered book, but she wanted me to paint the cover for her. So I'm always happy to do that. I'm working on 3 at the moment, so she has something to choose from, because she said just do whatever I want. So I always love that, because then I just get to be creative. So I'm working on that. Maybe I'll give a sneak peek of those. I know I did on a post, but they're now further along than they were the other day. So I'm going to get back to work here. Have a great rest of your day. Now go make something. Bye.